Naomi never imagined her life would change forever on a quiet Thursday evening. She was 18, barely surviving her first year of college, juggling a part-time job at the local grocery store and tutoring kids in the evenings. Her tiny apartment had one wobbly table, a creaky bed, and walls thin enough to hear her neighbor's TV. When the knock came, she opened the door to see her older sister, Serena, standing there. Her mascara was smudged, her eyes swollen from crying, and in her arms was a tiny bundle wrapped in a faded pink blanket. "Naomi," Serena's voice shook. I just need a week. Please, watch her for me. I'll come back once I've sorted myself out." Naomi stared at the newborn, whose tiny fists moved restlessly under the blanket. "Serena, I've never even held a baby before. I don't know how to." "You'll learn," Serena cut in quickly. She kissed the baby's forehead, her lips trembling. "Her name is Mia. She's perfect, Naomi. Please take care of her." Before Naomi could argue, Serena gently placed the baby into her arms and stepped back. "I'll call you," she promised, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Then she turned and walked down the dimly lit hallway. Naomi stood frozen, clutching Mia like something fragile and priceless. That first night was chaos. Mia cried for hours, her tiny voice echoing through the apartment. Naomi tried rocking her, singing softly, pacing back and forth until her legs ached. She warmed bottles, changed diapers with shaking hands, and whispered, "It's okay, I've got you," even though she wasn't sure she did. By morning, Naomi was exhausted. But when Mia finally fell asleep against her chest, her small face pressed into Naomi's shirt, something shifted inside her. It wasn't just responsibility, it was a deep, fierce need to protect her. The promised week passed. Then, too. Naomi called Serena's phone, but it was disconnected. She sent emails, messages, even reached out to old friends of her sister. Nothing. Serena had disappeared. Naomi's world shrank to work, caring for Mia and sleepless nights. Her professors noticed her absences. Her grades slipped. One evening, sitting at the kitchen table, she whispered to herself, "School or Mia?" And the answer came instantly. She chose Mia. Naomi picked up extra shifts at the grocery store, sometimes staying until her eyes burned from fatigue. She learned to live on instant noodles and peanut butter sandwiches so Mia could have formula, diapers, and fresh baby food. Her friends tried to talk her out of it. Over coffee one afternoon, her friend Marcy leaned forward and whispered, "Naomi, you're too young for this. You can't raise a baby alone. Maybe you should think about adoption." Naomi shook her head immediately. "No. She's my responsibility now. I can't just hand her over to strangers." Marcy sighed, stirring her drink. "But Serena's the mother. She should be the one." She left. Naomi cut in sharply. "And she hasn't called. Not once. That says everything I need to know." Her voice softened as she glanced at the stroller beside her. Mia deserves someone who won't walk away. Her parents weren't much better. Over the phone, her mother said, "Naomi, you're enabling Serena. If you keep stepping in, she'll never take responsibility." Naomi swallowed hard. "So what? I should just give Mia to people she's never met." Her father added, "We're just saying she's not your child. You can't build your whole life around her." Naomi hung up that night with tears in her eyes, but she knew she'd made the right choice. That was confirmed a few weeks later when Mia, then 8 months old, stopped fussing the moment Naomi hummed an old lullaby their mother used to sing. Mia pressed her warm cheek against Naomi's shoulder, her tiny hands clutching Naomi's shirt. In that moment, Naomi knew, out of everyone in the world, she was the one who made Mia feel safe. And she wasn't letting go. By the time Mia was 3, Naomi's life had found a fragile rhythm. She had secured a steady job as a medical receptionist at a small clinic. The pay wasn't great, but it came with health insurance and regular hours, enough stability for her to finally breathe. They moved into a modest 2-bedroom apartment in a quiet neighborhood. The walls were freshly painted, sunlight warmed the small living room in the mornings, and kids played safely outside. It wasn't much, but it was home. Mia thrived there. She'd sit at the kitchen table while Naomi cooked, coloring pictures, and asking endless questions. Why does the moon follow us at night? Why don't birds fall from the sky? Why do pancakes taste better on Saturday? One Saturday morning, as Naomi flipped pancakes, Mia said it without warning. "Mommy, can I have extra syrup?" Naomi froze, spatula in hand. The word "mommy" rolled through her like sunlight and heartbreak all at once. She turned and smiled softly. "Of course, sweetheart." She didn't tell Mia she wasn't her biological mother, because in every way that mattered, she was. Still, some nights, after Mia was asleep, Naomi lay awake thinking about Serena. Was she alive? Was she happy? Did she ever think about the baby she left behind? In the back of her closet, Naomi kept a small cardboard box. Inside were the few items Serena had left with Mia: the hospital ID bracelet, a faded pink onesie, the soft blanket from that first night, and a handful of early photos. Naomi told herself she kept them in case Serena ever returned. Proof that she had been there, proof of what she walked away from. When Mia was 5 and starting kindergarten, Naomi was nervous to let her go out into the world alone. But Mia adjusted quickly, making friends, loving story time, coming home every day bubbling with stories about what she'd learned. One afternoon, her teacher pulled Naomi aside. "Mia is one of the most thoughtful and kind children I've ever met," she said warmly. Naomi nearly cried on the spot. All the sacrifices had been worth it. It was a quiet Saturday afternoon when the knock came. Naomi wasn't expecting anyone, so she opened the door cautiously. Standing there was Serena, 10 years older, perfectly styled hair, designer clothes, manicured nails. "Hey, Naomi," Serena said casually, as if they'd spoken last week. "I'm finally ready to be a mom now." Naomi's fingers tightened on the doorknob. "Ready now?" "Yeah," Serena said with a bright smile. "I've got my life together. I want Mia to come live with me." Mia peeked from behind Naomi's legs, clutching her shirt. Serena's eyes lit up. "There's my girl," she said, crouching down and holding out her arms. But Mia stayed put, pressing closer to Naomi. Brushing off the awkwardness, Serena reached into her bag and pulled out gifts: an expensive doll, glittery hair clips, a box of chocolates. "These are for you, sweetheart," she said. Mia glanced at the gifts but didn't move. She'd never been quick to warm up to strangers. And that's exactly what Serena was to her, a stranger. Trying to keep things civil, Naomi invited Serena inside. Serena made herself at home instantly, lounging on the couch like she'd never left. She talked about her new fiancé, her travels, her job. She barely mentioned the decade she'd been gone. At dinner, Serena leaned toward Mia, asking question after question, often speaking over Naomi. At one point, Mia asked Naomi to pass the bread, and Serena interrupted with a smile that felt almost possessive. "You can ask me, honey. I'm your real mom." The words hit Naomi like a slap. She watched Mia's confused face, her little eyes darting between them. Naomi wanted to shout that being a real mom wasn't about blood. It was about every scraped knee, every bedtime story, every fever she'd stayed up through. But she swallowed her anger for Mia's sake. That night, after Serena left, Mia crawled into Naomi's lap without a word. She didn't mention the gifts or the chocolates. Instead, she whispered, "I don't want her to take me." Naomi's arms tightened protectively around her. Over the next 2 weeks, Serena's visits became more frequent. Naomi had suggested taking things slow for Mia's sake, but patience had never been Serena's strength. One evening, Serena showed up unannounced again. She was smiling, but her tone was sharp. "Naomi, I can't keep doing this little by little thing. Mia is my daughter. I want her to live with me now." Naomi kept her voice calm. "She doesn't know you, Serena. We need to think about her feelings. This is a big change." Serena's smile faltered. "I'm engaged. His name's Jonathan, and he's amazing. He wants us to be a complete family, me, him, and Mia. He can give her everything you can't." Naomi's stomach turned. "So, this is about what he wants." "It's about what's best for her," Serena replied, leaning back like she owned the conversation. "You've done okay, but you were never supposed to keep her this long." You should be glad I'm finally stepping up. Naomi stared at her. Stepping up means being there from the start, not showing up a decade later with presents. Serena's eyes narrowed. You're just the babysitter, Naomi. I'm her real mom. The words stung deep, but Naomi held her ground. Babysitters go home at the end of the night. I've been here every single day for 10 years. She's my daughter. The argument ended with Serena storming out, vowing to fix this. A few days later, Naomi came home to find an envelope taped to her door. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside were court papers. Serena was suing for full custody of Mia. Naomi's legs felt weak. She had feared this day for years, but a part of her had always believed the decade of love and care she'd given Mia would be enough to protect them. That night, Naomi sat at her kitchen table with a calculator, bills, and the court summons. Lawyers weren't cheap, but she knew this wasn't a choice. This was a fight for her daughter. She found a family attorney named Mark who agreed to meet her the next day. In his office, Naomi told him everything, from the night Serena left Mia to the recent gifts and unannounced visits. Mark listened intently and then said, "We'll need every piece of evidence proving you've been her primary caregiver. Every receipt, every record." Naomi spent the night going through boxes, drawers, and folders. She found hospital discharge papers listing Serena as mother and Naomi as emergency contact, old text messages where Serena promised she'd be back in a week, and bank statements showing 10 years of expenses paid by her alone. When the first hearing came, Serena sat at the other table, polished and confident, her fiancé beside her. Her lawyer painted Naomi as someone who had kept a child from her mother out of spite. Naomi's stomach twisted, but when Mark presented the hospital records, texts, and receipts, the judge listened carefully. During the trial, a former roommate of Serena's testified that Serena had spent the months after Mia's birth partying, drinking, and avoiding responsibility. Serena called them youthful mistakes, insisting she'd changed. The judge ordered a full psychological evaluation for both women, including home visits. Naomi agreed instantly. She had nothing to hide. Serena hesitated before agreeing. The evaluation revealed the truth. Naomi's home was stable, loving, and child-centered. Serena's so-called permanent home was a rented condo, barely furnished, and she had moved multiple times in the past year. At the final hearing, the judge reviewed all evidence. Based on the best interests of the child, he said, full legal and physical custody of Mia Reynolds is awarded to Naomi Reynolds. The biological mother, Serena Reynolds, will have supervised visitation. Naomi's breath caught, relief flooding her. Outside the courthouse,